Today, I'm joined by Adrian Nicholls, founder of Game 7 Growth Partners. Adrian helps founder led businesses scale from 5 and 6 figure months to $1 million months through psychology, sales, systems, and scale. His work sits at the intersection of sales leadership, performance psychology, and growth architecture, and he's known for helping businesses build the structure, standards, and operating systems required for real growth. Adrian, welcome to the show.
Naeem, thanks for having me, mate. It's good to be here.
Absolutely, man. I'm happy to have you on. We've been having some great conversations over the last few weeks here in Medellin, and you've been helping me a lot with my business as well. So I'm excited to dig in more and share more with the audience.
Nice, man. It's good to be here.
Yeah. Why don't we start more? You have a really unique personal story too. Why don't we start with some of that? You've been through some challenges, some ups and downs on your journey to being to where you are now. Can you kind of give us a little bit of your a little biography about yourself?
Well, how deep do you want to go?
We want to go into the depths of the Amazon rainforest.
The depths of the Amazon rainforest. Well, we can go deep. We can go deep. Depending for, best for your audience. I think if we can maybe chat into a little bit about rebuilding self. I think that's super important, especially people in business. As you
Yeah.
know, I know a lot of your audience is, business owners, entrepreneurs, people getting started. And I think a big thing that comes with business, Naeem, is, as Tony says, like business is a gladiator sport. And I think, with that being said, you've got to have resilience in business. And it's not only resilience in business, but it's also, I think, resilience in your personal life, like self as self. Because I think in business, your business you can only ever hold a business when you can hold yourself, like the space within yourself. And if you go too quick, then I think as DeMartini says, the pride before the fall. You get too big for your boots and it can all fall away. And I think for myself, I had a bit of a personal story where I made some decisions in life. At 35, I'd done very well. I was in construction. My background was in construction. I was living in Australia. As you guys can tell, I've got an Australian accent. And at the time I was living in Australia, typical life. I stepped into construction at 15. By the age of 30, had my own business, renovated a few properties, a few cars in the driveway, but something was missing. And I went on this personal journey, like a spiritual journey, I guess, to find fulfillment in life. At 32, getting home to my backyard, properties all done. I was kind of like perfectly green grass. It's perfect. My house was amazing. But I'd stand in the backyard, Naeem, and it was like, is this it? Like, is this it? Now I have a family, and then this is it. And I couldn't see the sunset from the backyard, so I always wanted to live somewhere where I could see the sun at least coming up or going down, like on an ocean, where you kind of have a bit of a closure to your day. So the challenges that I experienced was at 35, I went through this 4 year spiritual journey, I guess you could say. I'd made $1 million at 32 years old, and then over the next 4 years, it all fell away. Like I invested in silly things. I made, stupid decisions. I didn't have mentors at this time. I thought I could do it all on my own. And yeah, I made a lot of decisions. I slowly just spent away all that money and then found myself in a place where there was nowhere to go but to go within, and to rebuild from that place. And I think for your audience, I think, what can be achieved in just 4 years. I think that's what we should maybe dive into today on the call, when you go within and like you get rock solid in your foundations, to go from like $0 in the bank to running a sales team doing 1.6 million a month in only 4 years with 22 sales reps underneath you. I think that's a pretty cool journey.
That's incredible, man. Well, let's go deeper into that. What would you like? Well, maybe we'll start with your journey still more, going within, right? So, what was the next step for you? Kind of going more
Yeah,
within
yeah.
after that.
Yeah, so I think I was sharing on another podcast the other day, like the pendulum, and for you guys in the audience, like as far as you go one way, like losing it all, then you're going to have that rebound, that like an elastic band. It's going to catapult you. And for me, I had been out in Brazil with a girlfriend I was dating at the time, and she was in Brazil, and I'd been stuck out there during COVID. So when they closed the whole world down, that was the place where I was, which was amazing. Brazil was amazing. We were at the beach all day. There was not much going on there, but as an entrepreneur, my business was set up in Australia, and at the time, trying to run on an Australian time zone, being in Brazil and not having resources, like dating a Brazilian, everyone speaks Portuguese. So as a man, not having the resources to speak the language, not having the resources like time zone, working, getting up at 3 a.m. and my ex-girlfriend was at work all day. So I was at home all day by myself. And then I'd walk the streets and I'm speaking in Portuguese. And this went on for a year and a half. So slowly, I feel my character started to shift. I started to kind of lose myself. I lost the wittiness, the banter. I wasn't getting momentum in my business. I wasn't getting those results. And I really hit rock bottom. We broke up and I ended up staying in Brazil for two more months, trying to get a flight out. And then I flew into Australia, into Melbourne and into Sydney. And after this really hard breakup of 2 months being alone in Brazil, trying to get back, I then had to sit 2 weeks in a hotel quarantine alone and kind of sit with the fact that I'd just gone through this relationship. I thought I was going to marry this girl. I just lost my business while I was in Brazil. Like it had all fallen away. I'd lost my confidence. My mindset was in such a really horrible place. And I didn't know where I was going to go from there. So that was probably the lowest of the low, Naeem, which is sitting in a hotel room, literally having your freedom taken away. I didn't even have a window, a balcony that I could open the door and get fresh air on my face. And I guess just sitting in a hotel room and sitting with all of that is like when you stretch that elastic band, I think that was the final point where it couldn't be stretched any further. To build back from that place is pretty powerful.
Yeah. What was the shift or kind of decision you made from that place, or how did that kind of lay the foundation for all the things that came after that?
Yeah, so I think how that laid the foundations was like there was nothing to reflect back to me my worth. So I wasn't getting like reflection from love from a relationship, or I wasn't getting results from a business. So I wasn't looking externally anymore. And I literally had to go internal. So just sitting with myself. I know you recently just did a Vipassana meditation, and I know you really got a new awareness out of that. And before going into Brazil, I'd actually sat in a Vipassana too, which was, for your audience, it's 10 days of silence, sitting in silence in a retreat. You do not talk to anyone. You do not speak to anyone, no eye contact. And you just sit there for 10 days, up to 10 hours a day of meditating. And then, so sitting in that hotel room, that's all I had, Naeem, was to train push-ups. I had like a stretch band that I'd bought because I knew I was going into this hotel room for 2 weeks. So I had this stretch band and I just had meditation. And that's what I just had to start sitting with myself. And I think I've got an app called, what's it called? One of the apps there, and it tracks my meditation. And I think I'm at 1,500 days since that moment. Not straight, but a few breaks here and there, like a couple of days max. But that created the habit of sitting with myself for 20, 30, 1 hour per day. And as you experience in the Vipassana meditation, just sitting with yourself and letting the monkey mind no longer look externally and start to actually feel into what's actually going on inside. So, what a better place. You cannot build back from any other place but that place. Otherwise, it's just fleeting, isn't it? It's all reliant on the external. Yeah. So
100%. That's incredible, man. Wow. And then you got into helping businesses scale with systems and to go to the next level, yeah?
yeah, so no, there was a chapter in between that. So at that time, complete rock bottom, no money coming in, and I was applying for jobs at the time. I was in this hotel room. I'm applying for jobs online. And a mentor said to me while I was still in Brazil, and at this time I was like super anxious because I'd kind of everything, I was looking external for everything. Yeah, I was relying on the ex-girlfriend to support me. I was relying on having all these resources. So I was very anxious in my body. And I remember sitting with a mentor, and at the time I was a business owner. So I was running fulfillment, coaching, I was doing the marketing, I was doing the Instagram post, everything that goes with running a business. I was doing, as we all know, as entrepreneurs, we wear all the hats. And a mentor said to me on a call, he actually worked with DeMartini as well. He said, what's the 80-20 here? Like, what's the 20% that you're doing in your business that's getting you 80% of the results? And I looked at it and it's like, well, sales and coaching. Like, what gives you fulfillment? Sales and coaching. I love speaking to people. I love communicating. And that's what I was missing in Brazil. And that's why I lost myself. But when he said that, what's 20%? He said, you need to do sales. You just need to get on someone else's offer and just sell because you're good at it. And then you get that closed loop super fast. Because as a business owner, you're not closing loops. It's a long period of time. That's why it's a gladiator sport. Like you might take payment from a client, but you still got to fulfill on that client for 6 more months. And so with sales, you're pretty much doing an hour-long sales call, and at the end of that hour, you're either enrolled the person or you get to then reflect on and fix that and get better. So the closure of that loop is so quick that you can how quickly can you get better? Because that's just building your internal foundation so quick because you're getting these quick wins, so fast wins. So I jumped onto a sales role. I flew into Bali. I'd been down in Melbourne, Australia for 2 weeks, and I think I was there for only a week. And I sat there, and I decided I cannot build in this environment. I can't build in Australia. It's not my place. So at the time, I remember sitting with my little brother, and I said to him, mate, can you lend me $800? I need to buy a ticket to Bali. And he said, yeah, no worries. He's always had my back. And I've had his, and he let me, I remember him transferring the money or even paid for it with his credit card. So I've flown into Bali. This is in 2021. On borrowed money, and I just had an interview with a guy. I wasn't certain that I had a job, and I'd had one call with him. So I've got on a plane, flown to Bali. There's like 3 people on the plane at the time. It's COVID times, and I'm sitting on this plane, Singapore Airlines, land in Bali, and then land in Jakarta, and now I'm at Jakarta Airport. 3 more days of quarantine, so I've got to sit with myself for 3 more days. In uncertainty. And the thing was, Naeem, is there was no going back because if I went back to Australia, it was 2 more weeks and another quarantine again. I think
Wow.
that's a big one just there. Like having the willingness to bet on yourself
Yeah.
that this is where I'm going. And Tony says it as well. We're like, it burned the boats, like
Yep.
literally burn the boats on a plane. I flew one way and I was not going back because I was not going to sit with myself for another 2 weeks in the hotel. So I think self-belief is a big one.
100%, man. Yeah. When sales is let's talk about sales for a second because a lot of people struggle with that. A lot of people have negative ideas about what sales means. Can you give us your ethos on sales and why it's
Yeah, yeah.
important? Sell us on sales.
For sure. So I had a background in network marketing. What got me out of construction was stepping into network marketing, which is a peer-to-peer, like, hey, I use this product, tell your friend about it, and you get a referral commission. So I'd done this network marketing business in health and wellness. It was a nutritional cleansing program. And so I used the products, got great results. And then I learned how to like tell someone about it without selling them, if that makes sense. Like I learned how to authentically like create curiosity. So I read a book one time. I forget what it was called. It will come to me. But I read this book and it really reframed sales is service. Sales is just serving. And all sales is a transfer of certainty. It's whoever has the most certainty. So I can speak to you. I can sell you on an idea. Your children are selling to you all the time. You're selling to your children. You're selling ideas to your friends. Hey, do you want to go here for a holiday? You're selling them an idea. And it's your level of certainty and conviction that then influences them to take a path. So that's the biggest thing I've ever learned is sales is service, and you've got to get really good in sales. Like to be the best, it's literally just coming from a place of service and just understanding the craft so well that it's not about the commission, because at the end of the day, you'll make all the money, and if you do it in a way that you're not in integrity, eventually you're just going to change the offer and go find something because your soul knows that this isn't within integrity. So, I think in the beginning it's good to look at it like to really hone in your skills and make some good commissions, which sales is one of those vehicles to do so. But when you move from sales to service and really understand the craft of sales, that's when you can really hold people against the fire. When you know that your product can support them in having a better life, that's when you get to hold them to the fire at the end of the call and really speak from a place that's going to influence them to make a decision that will essentially change their life. So, yeah, I think when you move out of your head and into your heart in sales, it just becomes a whole different playing field for sure.
Absolutely. That was a huge shift for me too. In the beginning, when I never had a proper sales job before I worked for Tony. And again, selling is transfers of emotion, focusing on service, getting out of your head into your heart. So 100%, man, I agree with all that. And then I started shifting my mindset to actually feeling, most people, I used to feel bad and guilty if I would close somebody because I'm like, oh, taking their money and stuff. But I flipped it to like, oh, I actually feel guilty and bad if I actually don't close them, if it's for their highest good and if it's in their best interest to make the sale.
Yeah, for sure. And you've got some, incredible experience, obviously working there for 5 years. So I can imagine the skills that you've developed. One thing I learned was just that, how you get these small nuggets when you're on your journey, and there's like significant moments and things that are said that really, like, one thing, it can really just, expand your results so far. And I remember Sam Ovens. I was listening to one of Sam Ovens's courses early days, and he said, if you're not investing in yourself, how do you expect someone to buy your products?
Mm.
Because if you're not doing the thing, how do you expect your people that you're speaking to give you money to do the thing? If you're not doing the thing yourself, like it's going to come through in your conviction. So the biggest thing
Exactly.
in sales and this journey of business is consistently just reinvesting in ourselves. Like at the minute, I think I got four, five, I think I have three mentors at the minute, spending a significant amount of money a month on the mentoring, but it just makes it so much easier to enroll people into anything. Like you jump on a job interview and they say, well, why should we hire you? And so, why shouldn't you? Like,
Yeah.
your self-worth goes up because you're consistently investing in yourselves. A lot of people invest more into their car than they do their mindset. They invest more into their furniture at the house or things like this, more into their lifestyle. And I think with sales, the most important thing to do is just keep putting money back into your psychology.
I agree 100%. And same with leadership, right? You go first, right? So you got to 100% be totally invested and an example of the product. So I agree with you, man. I love that.
For
And you
sure.
do and you do the work. I know you've done Vipassana, you've done NLP training, you've done hypnosis, you've done the plant ceremonies. It's amazing all the time and effort and energy you've invested in yourself, which is why obviously you're so great at what you do.
Yeah. Yeah. It's putting yourself to the fire in these types of environments like plant ceremonies and even just coaching calls where they're pushing you really hard against your shadow, like really hard against parts of yourself you don't want to reflect upon. It's pretty confronting, when you look at a pattern and then you look at that pattern and then reflect what that's cost you, that pattern. You do this sort of stuff, the work that you do. It's confronting when you look at, especially in the area of maybe relationships, which I recently went through a pretty tough breakup, and then reflecting back, like doing the work, as you said, like doing it, but then it really hits home when you reflect and look at the patterns, and then wow, that really cost me a lot. And it's in business, it's in relationships, it's in your health, it's in your investing, it's with your children, it's whatever relationships you've got, the relationship with yourself.
Yep, absolutely. I think that's a great question to ask and evaluate on a consistent basis. What are the costs of some of your patterns that are getting in your way? And also, I love what you said your mentor asked you, and I heard it on the other podcast you sent me earlier that you were on, in terms of what are the 20% of results producing, 20% of activities producing 80% of the, in your case, sales for the business. So that's great too, right? Just like really cutting the fat and going all
Yeah.
in on the thing that's going to get move the needle.
Yeah, I think, and for your listeners as well, there's so much noise out there at the minute, Naeem. Like
Yeah.
this, the social medias, the AI now is a big thing. Like, yeah, AI is great, but I'm looking at it and like, okay, all these people are putting this time into it. What's the return on investment right now? Like, is it just another shiny thing? Dependable on where your business is currently at, is it something with context that you can put in and get results? But there is so many shiny things out there right now that you really, really got to get good at where your focus is, what you're working on, and you can really look at things, look at your life, and say, what's the 20% of inputs that I'm doing that are getting me 80% of the joy, happiness, income
Yep.
that's actually moving the needle.
Yep. Absolutely. So you talk about psychology, sales, systems, and scale. Why does psychology come first?
Why does psychology come first? Well, if you're going into a company and working with the founder and the founder believes that their business is doing well at 150,000 a month, well, then it's very hard to take that founder to 1 million a month and bring in all the resources and the team that's needed if the psychology of the founder is 150 month, that's good money. I'm doing good. So
Yep.
that person's not going to be willing to invest more money into a business if they don't see that 1 million a month is actually possible.
Yep. Absolutely. And you were able to do that with one of your clients.
Yeah,
Take
recently I was able to do that with one of our clients or one of my clients. Yeah, 2 years ago, and then recently, just with the newest client, I've been working with her for quite some time, but we just implemented a new modality, which is a online workshop, and she was able to go from 10,000 a month consistently when we started together to 88,000 last month or 2 months ago, 88,000, and tracking for the next launch, which would be the second one, we're looking at about 120,000 for the month when only 2 years ago she was at 10, 12, 15, was a good month. But with that and the psychology of that, it's a process with a founder because they're coming up against their own walls all the time that I'm too busy, I can't do more calls, it's getting too much. Now I've got fulfillment problems. I don't want to do group coaching. Like there's many limiting beliefs that come up that really separates, the CEO that's running an 8 figure empire to someone that's just running a 6 figure, a pretty comfortable 7 figure a year business.
Yep. That's
Yeah.
incredible, right? It is all the psychology is the shift. It's not about doing more work. In a lot of cases, probably even doing less work because, again, most people, their 80/20 is off, right? They're spending 80% of their effort and energy and resources in the 20% that's in 20% of revenue growth versus flipping it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's great because you have I'm curious how you work with clients, but I know you have the skills and abilities to help them make those psychological shifts too. So I'm assuming you're able to help your clients make those shifts, obviously, to go from 15K a month to 88K a month, 100K a month, and 150 grand a month to over 1 million a month.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's in, and what's important for everybody out there that's either a business owner or entrepreneur, mentors is the biggest game changer. Is having advisory because I was just thinking of a metaphor, and it's just kind of like you go into a city. You've never been there before. You buy a ticket, you take your wife, you fly in, you go to some restaurants, you stay at an Airbnb, and maybe the food's not the best. You're just kind of winging it, like just having a bit of a guess, maybe going offline. So food's not that good, your experience isn't that good. Maybe you go to the wrong places. Maybe the best view in town was only two restaurants up and you missed it because you'd never been there before. So yes, your experience to this new city is amazing in business. You can go it alone, you can try and figure it out, and you can just book a ticket. Or maybe you get connected with a local and that local's already been there. They've already been to $1 million months. They already know what it takes. They know the city so well that in the limited time that you have, 4 days, that mentor, that guide is going to make sure that every single move that you make while you're there is just getting maximum excitement, maximum joy, maximum experience, and return on investment. Staying at the best places, eating at the best restaurants, seeing the best views, and stress free because they're so used to the terrain, the landscape, and no, and you don't get ripped off because you go there alone. You have the ability when you haven't got a guide there. You have the ability to be taken for a ride. Signing up to things that don't even shiny things. So there's a really good metaphor, and your experience is so much different when you go to that city. Like you know what it's like when you travel a
That,
lot.
that's what would have happened to me here in Medellin if I didn't have you.
Ima- Imagine, right? Yeah, imagine. No, not with me, but like just with
No, but-
James with here, and you've got this network, and then
yeah.
I know you've just extended your trip lately for another 2 months.
Yep.
Uh, but if you just come here alone and stayed in a hotel and didn't know anybody, you probably would have been back in the US already and just moved on.
Yep.
And
Exactly.
your
Yeah.
your experience is a lot richer.
Yep, it is 100%. And all jokes aside, like like James for sure, you've been great, right? Kind of showing me the lay of the land. Other friends as well. Billy's been fun too. Billy Bosch, he's been showing me a lot of cool things. But 100%, man, like it makes the experience way better and safer, for lack of a better word, too, because you totally could get taken for a ride in new territory. So I love that metaphor for business and sales, right? Like you've been there before to 7 figure months, which is insane.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool, right? You find a mentor that can actually show you the blind spots, watch out for this, here's how you take the shortcut and all that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a complete different strategy to be at six figures a month, to go to $1 million a month.
Yeah.
It's a different strategy. It's the psychology, and then it's this, and then it's the sales. So psychology first and then sales second. Obviously, we need to optimize the sales process, because if your business is taking 100 calls a month, 50 calls a month, 1,000 calls a month, if one thing is off in that process, like just one thing, one small shift on one of those sales calls, and you can increase it by 10% on all metrics, that could be essentially, a 500% uptick.
Yeah.
So the sales process, you go psychology first. If that's right across the company, then we look at sales. Okay, where can we find money in the business now? There might be an email list that's just sitting there with 5,000 people on it, 200,000 people on it, and one email, I can pull in, six figures just from one email, because it's worked in the past. I've already been there before. I know exactly how to bring revenue into business. So I always focus on psychology first, then sales, to bring an ROI into the business, like show them where the money is. Because
Yep.
many businesses, I'd say all businesses, are sitting on money that they're unaware of. They're sitting on money.
I was listening to your other interview, and I remember you saying that in with one of your clients, how they didn't have their back end set up, and they were just leads were just falling through the cracks, no follow up, right? It was all in a WhatsApp group. So
Yeah,
that's an
yeah, yeah.
example of how you just
So that's the one we scaled to 1 million a month, and then 1.6 million a month in only 18 months from six figures. And the team grew from 6 people to 55. Uh, yeah, there's an amazing operation, an amazing journey.
yep.
And you're right. Like in the beginning, it was out of a WhatsApp group. There was no CRM system. There was no sales pipeline. There was no text messages going out. So all the calls were coming in, and there was no sequence to get those people back on the calendar. The enroller at the time, the closer, was just closing deals, hanging up. If they didn't pick up the phone, he'd just hang up. Like he wouldn't. They'd just get fall away. And then so we
Mhm.
put it all into an infrastructure that squeezed the most out of the marketing that was getting spent. So you got marketing is driving the leads in. What is the infrastructure that's converting them? It doesn't have to just convert on the sales process on the phone. There's like takes now 17 touch points. It'll be even more. 5 years ago it was 17. I think it'll be even more now. Maybe 30 touch points from someone to actually buy from you, which is informal follow-up. It's a text message, it's a PDF, it's an email, it's a omnipresence on social media, seeing your ad again, hearing about you, a referral.
Yep. And that's what you help do in terms of that's more the what would you call that, more the system side of things when you help companies build out their systems and all those
Yeah, it's
automations and things?
exactly. So I'd move it. Psychology first, sales first is find the money. Where's the money, and what are we losing, and get the revenue in. And then with
Yep.
that money from driving sales in their already presented infrastructure, so whatever's there, find sales, get an ROI, and then what we do is we invest that into systems, into proper systems, which is a CRM system. It's like all the right systems, sales systems, and marketing infrastructure, that then once the systems are in place, and also team, company, culture, values, these are all systems too. These are all ways that you control the environment for people coming into your company. And when you're known as a world-class company, people want to work for you. You don't have to sort through all these applications, because you've got A players knocking on your door, because they know what it's like. They know what your systems are like. If you have systems, then systems equals, systems is safety to people's incomes. You're not winging it. You're not bootstrapping it.
Yeah. And I remember you talking about that too, creating filtering for the right values for the team that you're building, right? And that's a big challenge for a lot of business owners too. Just
Yeah.
getting the right hire. A lot of times they might be killer at sales, but they might not be aligned with the values of the company, and they might be more toxic than good.
Yeah, and the amount of time it takes to hire and onboard a new rep,
Yep.
you really got to you teach your team and your company, you train your team, and you train your team and company like you bring on onboard clients. You bring on a client that's a pain in the backside, and you're like, I just brought them in because you have problems with them, and it creates way more problems than if you just didn't enroll them in your business. And it's the same with sales reps and people in your company. There's got to be an alignment of values. Because to attract A players want to be surrounded by other A players.
Mm.
A players want to be in an environment that is going to have them grow, is going to have them challenged. They're going to meet the six human needs, which you're aware of. their needs need to be getting met. It's the same thing in a company. If their needs aren't getting met, okay, then they're going to fall away. They're not going to perform at a high level. So one thing I always do with when I build a sales team out, I'm always running two different onboarding processes. I keep my A players in one container, and when I'm onboarding, I'm putting people in a ramp up. And so I'm separating the calls, and they've got to qualify to then get into the company. No one knows they're in the background working. They are. People know they're there, but they don't know of them.
Yeah.
So I'm isolating a container in the company until I do through my discernment, learning, is this person an A player? And if they are, even if they're a B player, I can take them to an A player. But that's how we move. We create containers and compartmentalize the company. So we're protecting energies of a whole. The worst thing you can do is just put someone on, they're on a team meeting, it's their first week, and then next week they're not on the team meeting. What does that say about the culture? So it's best to do this ramp. We do two containers, and we have this A player company, and then we have a ramping container.
That's awesome, man. It's wild to me how there's such sophistication in the process, and it's not that I don't want to say it's not hard, but that's lack of a better word. But it's not if you build the right systems and you follow the kind of like your recipe, you could create such powerful teams and results, which you know how to
Yes.
do, right? It's so cool to hear how you do that. That's pretty amazing, man.
Yeah. One thing I always said to the CFO is you cannot put momentum on a spreadsheet. Yeah, you can throw your numbers at me. You can give me all the spreadsheets. But one thing you cannot do is you cannot put momentum onto a spreadsheet. You cannot put morale on a spreadsheet. So this is a challenge with companies is when you have efficiencies, CFOs, operations, and very numbers driven, but you also have a sales department where morale and momentum are things that can't be put on a spreadsheet. And that's where I think it really comes down to the team lead or the leader of that department to be able to communicate what that is and how that affects results, morale and momentum. If you cut marketing spend, it shifts the morale, it drops the momentum. But you cannot put this on a spreadsheet. So
Yeah.
these are the things I'm really learning is communication between all departments needs to be so tight that everybody is rowing on the same boat and we're all communicating at the same time. Because, when decisions are made, when decisions can be made that affects morale, then that does affect momentum and that affects bottom line.
Yep.
And these are the nuances in business that you have these different everyone's amazing at all departments think differently, and it's super important to bring them all together, which is what I the analogy of game 7, like the NBA game 7, it's the most important game in the NBA. Everybody on that team has done the reps in the background to be in that team, on that team, and everyone's working. They've done the work behind the closed doors. They've been doing the work for themselves. But on that team in game 7 that you can throw the ball to someone else and they're going to hit the shot.
Yep.
You just know. You don't even have to worry. And that's the same with the company. You want to know that your CEO's got your back. You want to know that your sales leader's got your back. You want to know you can reach down into the DM department at the very guys that are just new and green in the company. You want to know that you ask them to step up, they'll step up. No, everyone's carrying something on their back. No one's there for a free ride, for a free lunch, as they say.
Yep. I love that analogy. I'm a basketball fan, I've been in
Ah,
some high
yeah,
pressure basketball games. So
yeah,
it is so wild. That's a great metaphor, right? Just obviously it's building a team, but like the sports metaphor is great for me at least. It lands really well, right? Because it's like you put everything into it the whole season, right? Like, and there's like one game on the line that's for everything for the title, and then
yep,
being able to have that trust, that certainty with your teammates to know that they'll at least do the best they can, right? And obviously, the outcome isn't always controllable, but
yep.
I think that's really cool, man. That you actually build that for companies and that level of trust and certainty within the teams too, because that's another big challenge, right? When sales teams are usually like over promising, and then the product team's like, dude, what the hell are you talking about? It's not even ready yet, right?
Yeah,
So I think it's
yeah,
cool you're
yeah.
able to get these teams to communicate better as well and align better.
for everybody, all the way from the marketing team, which is doing the very front end of the business. Marketing is getting in front of people, all the way
Yeah.
through to that final coaching call in the company. And these are
Yeah.
online business I'm talking about, but this can be any business with a product, whatever. It's like, what is the value? What is the perception of the very front, and making sure that's fulfilled upon at the very back. So, and everything in between, those 50 people in the company that played a part in that process, everybody feels like they're seen and valued in that company because they all play a part. The person that sends out the text messages for marketing, that's an important part, because if they misspell it and they're not 100% on it, then that just changes the whole brand, doesn't it? The premium feel. If your name's spelt wrong, like there's nothing worse than that. So every single person, from the top sales guy to the VA in the Philippines.
Yeah. I love that, man. So cool. So powerful.
Yeah.
What do most founders?
Might just plug my charger in.
Yep. What do most founders misunderstand about building a high performance sales team?
What do most founders miss in building a high performance sales team? There's so many nuances, Naeem, in building a high
Yeah.
performance sales team. So it's understand, and what I spoke about before is morale and momentum. These are the
Yep.
two biggest things that I believe, a CEO is looking at the EBITDA, they're looking at the bottom line revenue, they're looking at it as a company as a whole, and each department has nuances to it, like how people operate. And the sales team, morale and momentum are a very big one. And what drives momentum, what drives morale is obviously being paid well and being valued. Okay. When a sales rep is valued and they're being paid well, they're all in. They're all in. So, what drives a high performing sales team is trust at a
Mm.
company level. Is trust. Is the narrative that we're sharing with the sales team, is it truly in alignment with where we're going? Because if we're sharing with the sales team that this is where we're going and we're not going that way, or all of a sudden we make a shift in direction, but the narrative has been this is where we're going, then I think that can really shift morale. And then what's that do? It shifts momentum.
Yeah.
So what I found myself to be really good at is translating what executives need for the company, because I understand there is an executive level at a company that needs to drive success of the company. And then there is also compartments within the company that the narrative needs to be changed to support the type of characters that you have in each department. You know what I mean? Like different needs. So I think I was very good at shifting the narrative, not shifting the narrative, but delivering the narrative in a way that it maintained trust. And when
Mhm.
you have trust with your sales team, these guys will go to battle for you.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
love that. I agree. And
So
what makes, go ahead.
yeah, just not having a top-down approach. It's not a
Yeah.
stick and it's not a carrot. It's influence and it's trust.
Yep. 100%. What makes an offer easier to scale versus one that's harder to scale?
An offer that's easy to scale is there's a few things. There's not just one thing. So obviously the first thing, the offer needs to have integrity. It needs to actually deliver results,
Yep.
because what's the point in putting all this effort into an offer when it's just gonna the FDA's gonna shut it down in 6 months, or it's just gonna get shut down, the FTC. So what makes a good offer? One of our mentors that we work with is like, one, sell to rich people. And that's in business. Why not? Why wouldn't you sell to people that have money to buy your stuff? So an offer that you can sell to rich people is a great way to get ahead. Yeah, you can go out there and help people, with anything. And if that's what you want to do, great. But I'm in business because I also want to make money, um, to support myself, my lifestyle, and my goals and dreams. So with any business, you want to look, well, can I sell this to rich people? Can I
Mm.
actually sell my offer to people that have money? Because the problems are all the same. Like the person with the problem with relationships that doesn't have any money, the multi-millionaire has the same problems in relationship, the same patterns, same problems. So I may as well sell to the executive that can pay for my stuff and pay me well for my time than to a person who doesn't have any money, even though I'm fixing the same problem, what makes a great offer is one that you can actually sell it to people that have money to buy your products. It makes it easier. Then you can invest in more resources. Everyone loves making more money.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah.
And in terms of the what KPIs matter most when scaling a business? I know there's probably a lot, but I'm just curious. What are for people that
Well,
are trying to get to seven figures?
yeah. I think a big one is profitability. You want to make sure your company's profitable because you can be
Yep.
making 1 million a month and your expenses might be 1 million a month, and then you're not
Yep.
making anything. So I think your key number in any business is profitability.
Yeah.
Where am I with profitability right now?
Yep. And for solo entrepreneurs or just kind of two-man teams or three-man woman teams that are wanting to go to seven figures or more per in revenue,
Yes.
what would you say in terms of like the KPAs, right? Like what are the activities they got to focus on every single day and measure to really move the needle?
So depending on where the business is, if the business has a marketing machine, which is paid advertising,
Yeah.
then the biggest thing is to plug all the holes in the business first. Like if you're running paid advertising, first you want to make sure you're getting the absolute most out of that that dollar you're putting into marketing, you want to making sure you're getting at least $2 back.
Hmm.
So any founder, any business owner right now is what holes do I need to plug? Like where with what I'm putting into the business, like how can I get the most out of my outputs currently? And then from there, then you look at execution of like a high performance team. So like then you look at your metrics, like in your sales team, what are they converting at? Founders can get stuck and bottlenecked early on in their businesses when they've got only one sales rep, they've only got one setter, they've only got one coach, they've only got one of everything. And do you know why that is? It's because you've only got one narrative. You're only
Right.
hearing one narrative, one perception of how it is. Oh, the
Yeah.
leads are bad. Okay, compared to what? Is that what you're saying? Because you wanted to speak to the $1 million earners every day, or is it actually the real narrative? So the big bottleneck in companies, and they don't realize it when they're so early on in infancy stage, is what is the narrative that's being told that's getting us the current results?
Yeah.
And then, so what I do is I bring in people and I start working teams. I do that straight away. And then all of a sudden I see, oh, that narrative actually isn't true because this person's now closing at 50% or 40%. And before 25% was the standard.
Wow. Yeah. Who do you bring in first? Sales guy, marketing guy, COO?
Well, you can't. No, you don't want to work. You don't want to move to C-suites. So in any company, not until you're hitting considerable numbers in your company. Why we
Yeah.
don't want to go to C-suites? Because C-suites want they want a salary,
Right.
and that's an expense. So you want to look at any company, any founder-led company, business. You want to look for A players that have a bit of a skill set across all operations. They're a bit savvy in marketing. Maybe they're an entrepreneur. They're savvy in marketing. They're savvy in sales. They're savvy in operations. They're the entrepreneurs that couldn't be bothered building their own business. As I mentioned at the start of the call, at the start of our session, they're wearing all the hats. They stepped away and then they look at the 80/20 and they're like, you know what? I can just go into this company, put in my 20% and get this company 80% results. It's the same methodology. So
Yep.
find those A players that have maybe had a business themselves and just want to come in and do their thing because you're taking care of fulfillment, you're taking care of marketing, you're the brand voice, you're the talking head of the company. So bring in an A player that's really good at just systems, processes, and sales and psychology.
Right. I love that. How do you think of sales versus marketing? I hear if you have good enough marketing, you don't even need to do sales. And I also hear sales is the only thing that matters because if I know how to sell, I could just sell anybody and make sales.
Yeah, that's a good question, and I think the big thing where people go wrong is they're putting their say. I just received a testimonial this morning, a case study. One of the partners I was working with in that company, he ran marketing, and he just shared a testimonial with me. And he said the thing that I really appreciate about Adrian is he takes sales and marketing, and rather than being rivals, he brings them together as a team because sales is marketing, and marketing is sales. Marketing is sales. And then sales is marketing. It's all one unit. It's not actually separate because the
Yeah.
sale starts from the first message it goes out with the marketing team, and the sale ends when the sales rep closes through marketing.
I love that. I agree.
Yeah.
And then one thing that's really cool before we kind of wrap things up, you were talking to me the other day and it was really helpful. And I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with this, and I do too, and did more in the past. Now I'm getting better at it, but focusing more on selling painkillers versus vitamins.
Ah, yes.
And like you were telling me, I'm preparing for a talk I'm doing here, I'm scripting it out. And like you were giving me this really cool process on like creating your own IP and then going deeper into it and like making it uniquely yours, but also still focusing on the pain more than the solution and the inspiration. So can you elaborate more on that?
Selling the painkiller is, yeah, you've got a lot more leverage on selling a painkiller than you do a vitamin. If someone's got a headache for 3 days, they're gonna walk to the pharmacy. Even if the
Yeah.
pharmacy is 10 kilometers, they're gonna walk. If someone's just cut their hand off, they're gonna drive really fast to the hospital. Really, really fast. You know, if someone
Yeah.
is gonna pass away in a car accident, they're gonna take the helicopter and pay whatever it is. In that moment in time, I need the chopper I need to make this chopper to the hospital. I've got no time. Yeah, it's going to be 25,000. Yeah, yeah. Just get me. I'll figure it out. Compared to person that's been overweight for 10 years. Hey, just, do the fasting, watch your calories, count your macros. It's $25,000 to do that. Yeah, probably not going to. Yeah, I just want to think about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're selling the painkillers like in sales, you need to find pain. People will not move unless there's enough pain. We're humans. We love comfort, and it's comfort that keeps us stuck. It keeps us where we are. So it's interesting. Like even reflecting now, I look at painful times I've had recently, just in relationships and just times in life. And but then we look at it, it's like, well, maybe that's just been put there to make the shift, to make us make the shift. When you're against the fire, you start to change your ways.
Yeah. Absolutely. Wow. Spot on, man. I love that. All right, man. Well, where can people find more about you if they want to reach out or if they just want to learn more or just even if it could be, I don't know if you're looking for clients right now, but what's a good way for people to reach out to you or connect with you?
Yeah, I love expanding my network for sure. Yeah, awesome. I'd love to chat. Any business owners, entrepreneurs, people in the space looking to scale, grow their business, anything in sales, advisory. Adrian underscore Nicholls. So Adrian underscore Nicholls, Nichols. And then recently we just launched our website, which is game7growthpartners.com. Game, the number 7growthpartners.com.
Amazing. Cool. And I'll put those links in the show notes as well, your email and the website as well.
Nice.
Amazing, man. This is a lot of fun, Adrian. Thanks for sharing all your insight. Before we leave, though, I'm going to have you share your departing message with the audience.
The parting message with the audience. There's always one, isn't there, at the end? The parting message with the audience. I guess considering your audience is and for what you do, and you're really good at doing what you do, um, when it comes to running a business, it really is a gladiator sport. So you just got to be willing to go to the depths of it. Like if you want the life, you want the lifestyle, you want to travel, you want all the things, you want the 6-figure a month income, then you've just got to be willing to go to the depths of doubt and trust. And then I learned the other day, I was listening to Osho recently, your
Yeah.
partner, Josephine gave me a
Yeah.
book and I've started listening to it. And Osho he says, doubt and trust, is the same thing. Your, your doubt is simply your internal compass telling you to trust more. So doubt and trust is the same thing. It's just different on the spectrum, but it is all part of the same thing. So, when you're in business right now and you may be doubting that, am I doing the right thing? I think just at the end of the day, trust that you're on the right path and you wouldn't be here otherwise.
Incredible, man. I agree. Great way to end the podcast. Thank you, man.
All right, brother. Talk to you soon. Thank you.
Absolutely.